don't know if you have ever heard of the saying, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. In my opinion, when somebody has AI and first dives into it, they're going to go like, oh, everything is an AI problem. Everything is a nail that I need to sort of
Mhm.
use this hammer for. However, it's not, you know? So I think it's something where it's lovely to see that people get so excited about it, but not everything is AI. And don't start with AI. Start with a problem, and then AI might be the right tool for you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to All About AI's podcast, where we explore how AI is transforming the world and lead the way. I'm your host, Faiza Ehsan, and the guest here is Dajana Achelpohl, a leader with nearly 20 years at Google and PayPal, where she guided teams through major tech shifts. If you are curious about AI adoption, this conversation is for you. So, hello, Diana. It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you so much, Faiza. Lovely to be here.
So, I'd love to begin with your story. What sparks your interest in AI, and how did your career path bring you at this point?
Of course. So, as you already mentioned, I worked in big tech, in Google and in PayPal for many, many years, nearly 20 years. You're right there,
Yeah.
showing my age. And I always worked in sales, operations, marketing teams. So, no technical engineering teams as such. But working in that environment was obviously exposed to AI
Mhm.
all along. Not the generative AI, which is getting all the hype at the moment, more traditional AI. I was always a big fan, amazed with the potential that AI had to make our work more efficient, to allow us to do things that otherwise we wouldn't be able to do. But I always needed an engineering team to get access to the AI processes and to set things up for me. So when generative AI came around, I was really excited. I thought this was going to be my time as a non-technical leader when I would be able to make AI work without having to rely on those really scarce engineering resources.
Yeah.
And then I was actually really disappointed when I couldn't make it work. So I had all this enthusiasm, really wanted to make AI work, but I couldn't. And there was a couple of reasons for that. First of all, my main motivation was AI, not a problem I was looking to solve. So I didn't see any results. Secondly, then I didn't know enough about AI. And thirdly, my team wasn't too excited. I had expected my team to be really all in on this, but there was a lot of fear and a lot of issues there. So I am really working in AI today because I have been that leader that couldn't make AI work. And when I was at that stage where I couldn't make it work for me and my team at the time, I briefly considered just giving up and waiting a bit, which is something that a lot of people do when they try with AI and fail. They go like, oh, maybe it's not quite there yet. I wait and see. I decided to go all in, however, so I spent a lot of time learning more about AI, going deeper on what those challenges were that I was experiencing until I eventually managed to make it somewhat work for my team, which was great, but a lot harder than I had expected. And from that experience, then really came the thought that that's something that I could do for a living. So I've now transitioned out of that
Lovely.
corporate career into running my own business and helping others with making AI work.
Great, great. So that's really inspiring. So
Thank you.
let's move to our first question. This is something we hear quite often. Why does AI adoption most of the times fail, even when the technology is sound? So what do you think about it?
Yeah, so I think it's no secret, and depending on what numbers you look at and who you believe, it's definitely over 70% of
Mhm.
AI adoption that just doesn't happen, AI projects that fail, which is more than half of the failure rate to traditional IT projects. So why is that? In my opinion, and you already mentioned in your question, the technology is sound. We are treating it as a just another tech rollout and completely ignoring the people side of things. But AI changes so many things, not just about how your team and you will be doing things, but actually what you do. So there's a lot of things at stake here. You're not just rolling out a tool and then teaching people how to push buttons. You're
Yeah.
really asking people to change how they work, how they approach their work, how they see themselves. Plus, it's obviously like so fast the way it's evolving, right? Keeping up to date with it is a real challenge. So I think there are all these non-tech, more, I would say, people elements to AI rollouts that are often neglected. And that's why I think we see such a high failure rate.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. So, what do you think? How is leading AI adoption different from other types of change leaders that they have faced? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think we already touched on a few things there. So it's really a mindset shift. So it's not just a thing that you need to get done and then it's done. It's a complete mindset shift. And I think especially for leaders, you need to get hands-on with AI as well. AI is not something that you can just talk about. This is a scenario where you really need to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. So you need to get your hands dirty as well on AI to fully understand it and to be able to learn alongside your team. I think with some other changes, you can probably get away without doing full-blown change management. I think due to the nature of AI rollout and all of those people elements we already talked about, it's very difficult with AI to get away without working on proper change management.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, that's a fresh perspective, I must say. And yeah, so when we talk about AI adoption without bringing up change management, so what role does it play successful adoption, AI adoption? What's your take on it?
Um, So you mean what role does change management play in
Yeah.
successful AI adoption? Yeah, for me, it's really the difference between we bought an AI tool, but we're not really seeing results, and we are really seeing results. I think change management is what gets you from there to there where you
Yeah.
want to get to. There's many great change management frameworks, and depending what school you follow, a few work really well. But I think I myself am pro-sci certified when it comes to change management, and they have a great framework which is called ADKAR, which I think works so well for AI adoption, coincidentally. So I think that is something where you can really see that difference between just dropping AI on people and hoping for the best and possibly not seeing results and really seeing those results.
Okay, love it. So, what's the biggest myth non-technical leaders believe about AI, and what's your favorite way to bust it?
Yeah, I think what I see with a lot of people, especially with all the hype going on at the moment, is that they feel now everything needs AI, right? We see AI being put on everything. And that is, of course, a complete myth, right? Many of the old ways of doing things still work perfectly well and might be way better than AI. So the way that I like to tackle this is really with an analogy. So I don't know if you have ever heard of the saying, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. In my opinion, when somebody has AI and first dives into it, they're going to go like, oh, everything is an AI problem. Everything is a nail that I need to sort of
Mhm.
use this hammer for. However, it's not, you know? So I think it's something where it's lovely to see that people get so excited about it, but not everything is AI. And don't start with AI. Start with a problem, and then AI might be the right tool for you, but it not always is.
Yeah, love how you bust that myth. So, how can a leader tell if their organization is AI ready? What signs should leader watch to know if they are really ready or not?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things to look out for in terms of AI readiness. I think what is definitely a warning sign in terms of you not being AI ready is when you see slow adoption, when you see teams reverting to the old way of doing things, when there's very little discussion and interest from the team on AI, when they're avoiding the topic. That's, I think, a very clear sign that you are not AI ready. And I think seeing that you might be ready is when it's not just you pushing the AI narrative, but when there is a pull from your team. So they
Mhm.
are coming up with the problems that they want AI to solve. They are having ideas. They are enthusiastic about it. I think that's when you can confidently say, we seem to be ready for this AI thing.
Awesome, awesome. So, what's the first step a non technical leader should take if asked to bring more AI on the table?
Yeah, I think the first thing, if you are asked to do more AI, would be actually to push back, right? In my opinion, you shouldn't start with AI for AI's sake. But if you want to do more AI, I think a good way is to start with a problem. So I always say start with a problem, don't start with the solution. So look at what are the real problems that you have in your team, in your organization, and then identify one where AI could be a solution and then work through that, right? I'm a big believer in starting with small AI, getting those first results, getting the confidence, and then to go further. But I would never just blindly do AI because somebody told you you should do more AI.
Perfect, perfect. So it's a quick win test for you. What small, low-risk AI project would you pick to prove that tech really helps you?
Yeah. Obviously depends on everybody's situation, but I think an important thing here is that I would use tools that I already have. Like the vast majority of people that I'm talking to either have already Copilot in
Mm-hmm.
their organization, they might have Gemini if they're using the Google Workspace, or they have ChatGPT. First thing I would do is do something that you can do with those existing tools. Do not buy another tool. Then I think personal productivity is a very low-hanging fruit for AI. Even very conservative numbers estimate that everybody could save at least 4 hours a week by using AI for personal
Exactly,
productivity.
exactly.
So I think there's always something like a report that's very annoying, meeting notes, etc., something that is like a real problem, a real time sucker, and where you could just use those tools you already have. So I would start with something like that.
All right. So since you mentioned ChatGPT, let me ask you one question. Have you ever said thank you or please to ChatGPT?
I do. I actually do it all the time. I'm very polite, and obviously after all the recent talk about how that's actually completely unnecessary, and if anything, bad for the environment because it burns so much resources. I'm
Yeah.
trying not to, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of fundamental questions there
Hmm.
about how we treat AI, what kind of working relationships we have. So I still find myself doing it. I don't go out of my way to just have an interaction that's just thank you, but I try to be at least polite in my
Yeah,
prompts.
we all know it's unintentional, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So if you had to design a change management toolkit for AI leaders, what would be the top three items inside them?
Yeah. So I think three things that you would need is, first of all, I think you need knowledge, right? So I
Hmm.
think having an AI baseline for knowledge in your teams, like a baseline training, which doesn't need to go into too much detail, but you want everybody to have the same basic understanding of AI so that you're speaking the same language. Secondly, then I think it's really important to have governance in place. So you want to be very clear, why are we using AI? What are we using it for? What are we not using it for? And I think it's really helpful to actually develop that together with your team. And then thirdly, I think you need feedback loops.
Yeah.
You can't operate in a vacuum when it comes to AI. You need to hear back from the team. Is this working? They need to be able to tell you this is good, this is not good, this is what we should be doing instead. So they're the three things that I think would be good to start with.
Yeah, exactly. Feedback is a part of process. So, yeah. So, build by or partner. How do you make the right call when adding AI capabilities?
I think it really depends. And I always suggest that you look at is this a core capability that you are looking to use AI for, or is this something that's somewhere on the parameters, right, where you're just looking for help? I think there's no shame in starting off the shelf, and I see a lot of people starting with off the shelf. There's a lot of great things that you can do. I think as you get more into it, as you are clearer on your use cases, partnerships can make a lot of sense. And of course, there's also a lot of questions around security of your data, etc. It very much depends on what you do, what standards you have for your data, where you actually might have to go in-house just to protect yourself there.
Yeah, that's true. So, change management gets a bad rep. How do you make it feel like less corporate therapy and more like team empowerment?
Yeah, I think change management, actually, I'm trying to think of a better word for it. I think it's so overused and not always in a positive scenario, as you're saying. I try to treat change management as a team sport, right? This is not a top-down thing. This is
Mm-hmm.
something that we are all doing together to get from here to there. So I think it's really important to involve the team early on, to not just show them like this is what's going to happen, but to really involve them in the process, so that they feel ownership of it. And then I think they don't feel managed through change. Then they feel that they are actually actively managing the change themselves.
Awesome, awesome. So, I like, okay, so how do you ensure human side training, teamwork, trust, keep space with the new team?
I think there's a big element there of making time, or really baking that into how you do things. The way AI especially is going at the moment, we can't keep pace with this. We are not built like this
Yeah,
as humans,
true,
right?
true.
But we do need humans in the loop, and we ultimately want AI to work for us and not us working for AI. So we might have to slow down. And I think it's really important that both at a organization, team, and individual one-to-one level, you are making that time to check in with people, to hear their feedback, to do those trainings, to maybe slow down based on whatever feedback they give. So I think it's important to bake that in.
Awesome. So, I like, okay, so let's continue. How do you reassure your team members who think AI will steal their jobs?
Mm. So I think first of all, it's very important to have that conversation. I think it's like the
Mm-hmm.
elephant in the room that people are trying to pretend is not there. Um, I would completely acknowledge those fears and also say to them, there is a possibility that that might happen,
Yeah.
depending on what you do, right? And I think as we all want to learn more about AI, I think we also need to make time. And I think that's really something that leaders are also responsible for, to teach our teams and to show them that there's these human skills: creativity, empathy, true innovation, system thinking, that AI is not good at and won't be good at for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So these
Yeah.
are the things that we should be doing more of. So I think it's okay to acknowledge that fear, that yes, some of the elements of your role that you're currently doing might be done by AI in future, but that frees you up to do other things, more exciting things. How can we get you to do more of these things, and what are potentially new skills that you could
Mm-hmm.
learn? We need humans, so I think we should all focus really on the things that we know AI can't do. So that will keep us relevant, and I think they're
Yeah.
actually mostly more exciting than the things that AI is good at.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, how can leaders tell, or you can tell, if you are spending too much or too little on an AI project?
Yeah, I think what I observe quite a bit when there's too much time spent on AI, if you will, is that there is this very small pilot that has sort of had 25 iterations already. Everybody is just looking at this very small thing. There's no scale to it. Things don't seem to be moving. People are just sort of stuck and sort of over engineering it. I think that's often a sign that you're spending too much time on a very narrow thing, and then too little time. I think what we see often is that we just drop an AI tool into a team and expect them to just magically start using it and magically see the results, and we don't see the results. So I think if there's very little talk of AI in your team, if people are resisting it, using something else, if that shiny new tool you bought is gathering dust somewhere in a corner because nobody is interested, then you're definitely spending too little time.
Okay. And how do you cope up with all these stuff? How do you manage your team?
How do I manage my team
Yeah.
to make sure that that doesn't happen?
Yeah.
I think, again, making that space and time and having very regular check-in in change management theory, there's an important step, which is reinforcement, where after you've explained why you're doing something, you taught somebody how to do it, etc., you don't just stop there, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
constant reinforcement loop where you are celebrating success and you are also to a certain degree celebrating and discussing failure. And I think that's very important, right? Where we want to get to with AI is that it's not a thing in itself, but that it's the way we do things. And you will only get there if you constantly talk about it.
Yeah, true. So, what's one easy to measure number that shows AI is helping your business? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think for many, it's time saved doing X. I think again that's a very obvious one. So I think initially showing first results is usually by showing how much time you can save in doing something.
All right. So, what early signs tell you an AI project isn't working well and you need to stop or change the strategy? What's one thing?
Yeah, again, coming back to low adoption, right? If nobody is using the tool, the workflow that you want them to use, that's when you have a problem, and that's when I would stop and reassess, and when I would also not just keep pushing people. If this is not working, putting more pressure on is not going to work, right? You might have to go back to the drawing table, and I see that a lot, that there's such a pressure to make AI work that the big investment is made for the tool, then there's a lot of pressure on, we are now all using this. We are an AI ready or an AI first company now. Everybody uses this and nobody is. And that's definitely when you need to go back to the drawing table and figure things out.
Perfect. Perfect. So let's move forward to another question. If a new law or rule about AI drops next year, how can a leader or you be ready instead of scrambling?
Yeah, I think most of the laws and regulation that we see around AI is similar in nature. And I'm based in the EU where we have the EU AI Act already. So I think that's going, in many ways, going to be a blueprint for what's to expect. So I think the minimum thing you should be doing anyway is documenting all of the AI that you're using in your organization, document your processes around how it's being used, have a really clear AI literacy initiative for your teams,
Mhm.
because that's another common factor that we see. And yeah, I actually think those three are probably a good way to start. Document what you're using, why you're using it, how you're using it, and that your team has baseline understanding of best practices in AI.
Perfect, perfect. So where do you think the biggest gap is in current AI training or adoption efforts?
Yeah, it might not surprise you because that's really my theme, but I think a lot of AI training really focuses on going quite deep into the tech. How does AI work? What's a parameter? What's a weight? Most people do not need to know that. They need to have a baseline understanding of how AI works and what it does. What there isn't enough focus on is really the what does that mean for us? How does that change how we work? How does it change how we think? How should we act with AI? What are best practices in terms of being transparent about AI use, questioning AI, flagging if you see issues with AI? There's really interesting data from KPMG that came out there fairly recently that shows that over 50% of people that use AI don't disclose that they've used AI for it and that they've made mistakes with AI because they didn't check their own output, right? There is a lot of things that are going wrong because we don't know how to use it. It's a complete new skill and it's not being taught properly often.
Yeah, that's true. Well, here comes the last question. What's your
Yeah.
hope for the future of leadership in an AI world? And will we finally stop thinking tech and people are separate?
I think this is going to be an opportunity for leaders to step up, right? You can be a coach, a guide, and really an ethical anchor in this whole world where AI is going to do so many things. Um, I think it shouldn't replace AI shouldn't replace leadership or like fundamental human skills. I think this is something that we should hold on to. I hope that we're going to come to a scenario where we can live peacefully and productively alongside each other. But I would like to think that human and technology stays separate but harmonious.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that's such an inspiring version, you know?
I
So,
hope so.
okay, so thank you so much for taking time and speak with
Of
us
course.
today. We really appreciate your efforts for bringing the change. Honestly, it was such a nice and insightful conversation. Best
Thank you.
wishes and good luck for your future. Take care.
Same for you. Thank you.